Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Crypto Hipster Podcast. This is your host, Jamil Hassan, the Crypto Hipster, where I bring you founders, entrepreneurs, executives, thought leaders, authors, artists, you name it, all over the world of crypto and blockchain. And today I have a special treat. I have a man from Zug, from Crypto Valley, Switzerland. He is, let me see if I get this title right, Director of Education and Governance Initiatives at the Web3 Foundation. His name is Bill Laboon. Bill, welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Jamil.
You're very welcome. I got your title right?
Yeah, I know. It's one of the longest titles I've ever had in my life, but it does, I think, summarize what all that I do here.
Okay. Wow. Cool. Very cool. Very cool. So let's start off. Find out first, what is your background, and is it a logical background for what you're doing now?
Yes, actually, I think that my background is unlike a lot of people in crypto. It actually makes a lot of sense that I ended up where I am today. So I was a software engineer. I was doing research on hashing algorithms, which is what got me into Bitcoin in the first place. One of the few people that got into Bitcoin, because they were interested in SHA-256. I taught computer science at the University of Pittsburgh, including courses on blockchain technology. I got more and more interested in blockchain, and after seeing a talk by the founder of Polkadot, Gavin Wood, I decided I wanted to jump in full time. And as you can tell from my accent, I am not Swiss. I moved here from Pittsburgh in 2019 and have been working at Web3 Foundation ever since.
As I say, you don't sound Swiss. Um, Pittsburgh, awesome. So very cool. So Web3 Foundation, right? What's that all about? What makes it great? How does it tie into the overall crypto landscape?
Yeah, so the goal of Web3 Foundation is to build the foundation of the decentralized web. And what we mean by this is, that whole world of Web3, right, where you own your data and have sovereignty over yourself. And our main focus on doing that is helping to build Polkadot, which is one particular blockchain ecosystem. But we do a lot of other foundational education and research, both in terms of like a basic distributed systems technology and cryptography. We have a whole team of PhDs, doing research, producing papers, etc. We do also a lot of other cross-chain, cross-ecosystem events, such as Web3 Summit, which we have done a few times in the past and we'll be doing again this year. So I think that's really what makes us great, is that we are not a mailbox here in Zug. We are a large group of people here at the foundation, doing research, doing education, helping to grow our ecosystem and the Web3 ecosystem in general.
Great. So I haven't done much in a couple of years investigation into the Polkadot ecosystem, and I know you have a lot of things that have been going on. So I want to find out what the current state of the Polkadot ecosystem is, and how does your Web3 mission align with Polkadot's mission?
So the idea of Polkadot is to provide and create a space where people can build their own blockchain or use one of a variety of blockchains that are built in the ecosystem. So a phrase often that people will talk about Polkadot is it's an internet of blockchains. We actually have, so the basic architecture, I don't want to go too much into the technical details unless you're really interested. We have a central blockchain called a relay chain, and other blockchains can be built using a framework, the Polkadot SDK, and attached to that blockchain. So that means they can interoperate with each other, communicate with each other, share in the security, etc. So right now we have 49 different blockchains in the Polkadot ecosystem connected to the relay chain. More are coming on all the time. And many of these blockchains are very focused on a particular vertical. So we have one blockchain, for instance, that is a DEX, right? So that entire blockchain is used, as a decentralized exchange. We have other blockchain that is a prediction market, right? We have another blockchain that allows people to do social media on chain. And we have other chains that are essentially smart contract chains that allow you to do all kinds of different things. They're much more open. So the idea this is the idea of Polkadot, is that if you need a smart contract, something like relatively simple, you can use one of these smart contract chains that are on there. But if you need to develop something more complicated or something that requires its own chain, that's also something you can do in the ecosystem. We are one of the most decentralized systems out there. We have an extremely high Nakamoto coefficient. So basically, how many entities would have of 93 last I looked, which is how many entities would have to collaborate in order to cause problems for the chain. So there's actually, it's very decentralized. We have a very powerful governance system where all decisions are made by the dot holders, and we are very developer friendly. So the Polkadot SDK is really powerful. We always, if you look at charts by electric capital, we always are around second after Ethereum in terms of number of developers in our ecosystem. And I think a big reason for that is we've really focused on making it easy and powerful for developers to build on us.
I think 2 years ago you had 6 chains, and now you said 93.
No, sorry, the Nakamoto coefficient is 93. We have 49 chains.
49. So you've had tremendous growth,
Yes.
right? So what's led to the growth?
So I think, as I mentioned, right, the developers, right? That's what it all comes down to. And we have really worked on providing a system that allows developers to do all kinds of things, right? So using Rust, which also is a very popular language with developers, a lot of people like that. But we've had a lot of initiatives to help bring people into the ecosystem and bring these developers. So the Polkadot Blockchain Academy, for instance, is held every few months in a different part of the world where people for 4 weeks intensively learn how to build using the Polkadot SDK and build on Polkadot. Here at Web3 Foundation, we write a lot of documentation, and tutorials to help people learn how to build on Polkadot and to understand it. We provide a lot of grants. So Web3 Foundation, we actually just last year, at the end of last year, we announced Decentralized Futures, where we're giving $20 million and 5 million DOT to teams who are looking to build things on Polkadot. So I think all of these are reasons, right? But the main goal, I think, is that we're making it easy for developers to build on us, and we're making it it's useful, right? They can build things that are useful, and we give them the power to do that. And I think that's the main reason why more and more teams are coming and building on Polkadot and having the making a blockchain that joins this growing group of blockchains.
Very cool. Very cool. So I want to find out next. You said the magic word. You said developers, and they're very important, right? And recently, I think it was Monday, there was an announcement in the UK about ETNs, right? And then recently in the US with ETFs. So Bitcoin adoption, Polkadot adoption, how is the recent adoptions going to impact, developers?
So I think the big effect is going to be that more developers are going to see blockchain technology in general as a legitimate career path, as something that is something they're excited about. They see that like large institutions are using it. It's not just a few people playing around in their basement anymore, right? This isn't 2010. I think this is a lot of people that may not have heard of Bitcoin, or if they've heard of it, they don't really know what it's about, or what is the why of blockchain technology. And I think that this is the early phases of a lot of people that are outside the tech world, that are outside of the traditional crypto space, to find out more about blockchain and the big benefit, right, of it, which is that we can have a source of truth, right, without trust. And I know some of this is very simple, right? Like Bitcoin, it's relatively simple and straightforward, and there are benefits to that as well. But I think as people say, wait a second, so you're saying that we can mathematically guarantee that only 21 million Bitcoin will be created. Well, what else can I mathematically guarantee? And so I think as more people think about it, they'll start thinking about other use cases for blockchain technology. And I see this as sort of, a way it lights the spark, right? Bitcoin and ETFs, it's a relatively simple thing, but I think it'll be a good impetus for people to look more deeply into this and, what they can build. And then, of course, that's the first step to actually building something.
I agree. So another step to building something right is to know what the global state of software engineering development is, right? So what is the current, like I've seen a lot of mixed things going on based on different chains. What is the global state of software engine development in Web3 and some of the opportunities and the challenges?
Yeah, so it is always improving. This is one of the really interesting things about blockchain, right? Is that in general, everything is wide open. And what this means is that failures are also seen and failures are wide open, which in some ways is bad. I feel like that people say like, oh, I saw this bridge failed or there was a problem here. And that means that Web3 developers are a bunch of cowboys. But like these same problems are occurring elsewhere. And the nice thing about blockchain actually is that it's a very open culture. And when problems do occur, it's evolution, right? We learn from those failures. If you look at some of the, like early smart contracts sent out to Ethereum, they were ridiculously full of holes. And now we understand what those are and we fix them. This is the same technology, the same concept as open source technology. People were very afraid of putting their code online because, oh, people will find bugs in it. But what this has meant is that right, that's a way to harden it, right? Like battle hardened, that people can look at the code and find problems much more quickly. And I think blockchain technology has been that multiplied by 10 or maybe more. Right. So what we're seeing actually is more and better software engineering applied to this because it is so important. And people realize like the stakes are very high. The stakes were not nearly as high 10, 15 years ago when this was all starting out. But now if you look at Polkadot, we have multiple test nets. We have a canary network where we put code before it goes to the main net. Other ecosystems do this too. There's I don't know how many test nets there are in Ethereum, but quite a few different places where code is tried out before it goes online. We see more formal verification. We see more research interest. So I have seen increased a level of quality in deployed code in projects. And I think that's only going to continue to increase. Now, on the other hand, right, there are also a lot of malicious people on the other side of that. But that's again that provides like this this evolutionary pressure, which actually leads to higher quality code in the long run.
I agree. So it's interesting. You said we are not playing in the basement, right? It's not what I've seen since March 12th. I've seen a lot of degenerate people playing in the basement and grabbing millions of dollars on different chains. I won't name the chains, but I think maybe we're going backwards. It's like,
So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
how do you see this as progress?
So I mean, I think all technology is going to be used for a lot of different things, right? And so yes, this is certainly an aspect, of blockchain technology, and we see how easy it is, to make a token. We see how easy it is to do something very silly, and I think just like any technology, there's always going to be some group of people, quote unquote, playing in the basement, right? Even now, you look, there's people like I saw COBOL, which is a very old programming language, and people have been playing around with it and doing fun things with it. And GNU COBOL just got released, but it's also very used a lot in business applications, right? When I think of a COBOL made a COBOL program, I think of something that's been running at some major bank for the last 50 years. So I think it's the same thing, right? So we are seeing this, but we're also seeing governments looking into CBDCs. We're looking at large organizations deploying deploying code to the blockchain. We're seeing PayPal, which is a very Web2 company, they have their own stable coin now. So yes, I mean there's always going to be people playing around and having fun and doing these kind of things. But I guess my point is that's not all of the industry, right? And even though that will always be there, just like there are people doing really, silly things, with regular, with C++ and Rust and Python and, COBOL. There are also people doing really, cool, interesting things, pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And that is, what I really, personally am focused on. I see like, yeah, there are people having fun. Let them have their fun. They're not bothering me. While we are, building the future of the decentralized internet here.
So when it comes to the decentralized internet, what trends, not meme coins, right? What trends are you seeing, and what do you think will be their long lasting implications?
So I think the biggest trend that I'm seeing lately is DAOs, so distributed autonomous organizations, right? So the ability to have groups come to a decision without knowing each other, without trusting each other, without maybe knowing even who these other people are, but to come together and have some sort of commit some sort of collective action. So this is really important in Polkadot. So Polkadot itself actually is, we can consider it the world's largest DAO because everything is controlled by dot holders. There's no multi-sig of developers that can just update the code. Everything is approved by dot holders, including the treasury, which holds almost 39 million dot, which can be used to be spent on different things. Every upgrade has been approved by dot holders. That's 52 upgrades. Like, this is amazing to me that, when you look at the votes, it's, hundreds of people from all over the world, some anonymous, some not, voting and deciding on the future of this network. And to me, that's amazing, right? And we see, like smaller groups. So on Ethereum, there was Constitution DAO, which was, a group trying to buy a copy of the U.S. Constitution. We have Chaos DAO and Ivy, Saxonburg, several governance DAOs for people that agree with each other, politically, that want to vote on different things together and like pool their voting power and make collective decisions, sort of like a sub, governance. All right, we have Teddy DAO for people that want to contribute to charity. And we have like interesting things, there's always going to be people playing in the basement. We have a Kappa Sigma Mu, which is a DAO that is membership is based on proof of ink. You need to get a tattoo to make yourself into a human blockchain. I know we're on a call, so people won't be able to see. I guess I can't take off my shirt. I have a tattoo that has my address and then a link to the previous person. So we're a human blockchain, me and 162 other people. If you wait a second, I could take the shirt off and show you.
I'm interested to see the tattoo.
All right. One second. You may have to edit this pause out. So hold on.
What's the name of that? What's the name of that DAO?
So that's Kappa Sigma Mu, which is so our Canary network I mentioned, where we put out code before it's audited just to try it. It's a Kusama, so KSM, and then Kappa Sigma Mu is just like, it looks kind of like that, with Greek letters.
I know Kusama. And
Yeah.
that's very good. So very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So thank you.
So the cool thing about this though is like, all right, it's a group of people from all around the world that don't know each other, but we can all decide, that this person, yes, they got the tattoo, they vote on it, we all vote as new members come in. I just think that's really neat, right? That we've gotten, again, 163 people in total, including me, to do this all around the world in a decentralized way, entirely on chain. To me, that's really powerful, right? And a real, example of alternative ways that we can, coordinate. And I think like, this, coordination and collective action, that sounds very, I don't know, like very utopian, but I mean, I think that's the only way things get done, right? Is through collective action. And this is a way to help, organize that. And I think that's really interesting. And I see it being used more and more often, both in our ecosystem and others.
Collective action. Yeah, we're only as strong as the community, right?
Yeah, I mean, you think about anything that's done. I mean, there's some rare exceptions, right? But even like Satoshi Nakamoto, he developed Bitcoin. He came up with the idea. He wrote the paper, assuming it is one person. But he had a lot of work. A lot of work was done by others. In the early days, he didn't develop Bitcoin on its own in its modern form. Lots of people have joined and improved the code and done testing and kept the network running. There's a lot of people involved in Bitcoin, even though people say, or people may think, oh, it's just just Satoshi. But and you think about anything else, any government entity, right? It's not just one person, any company. Even though we often lionize the leaders of that company, like nothing gets done without the work of a lot of people. It's very rare that something is entirely out of the mind of one person. Like even Einstein, he would talk to people and have them help him with the with the details of the math and stuff. And so I think like being able to organize, this was one of the early dreams of the internet, right? When people say, hey, we can communicate, and now not only can we communicate, but we can organize. And I find that like really valuable, that we can organize in our own way and decide who we want to interact with and what projects we're working toward, what goals we're working towards. So yeah, I think this is a really powerful concept, and we're seeing more of it, and I think we're going to be seeing more blockchains used for this going forward.
My idea of a DAO initially was like a way for people who were not even thought about to be on the board of something to get an opportunity to be a board director, but it's
Yeah.
taken on a world of its own. Really, it could be used for many things.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like so many things. I think I'm 44. I remember like and I got on the internet pretty early, and I remember like a lot of the early internet pages were just copies of something that existed, right? Like your newspaper, like nytimes.com looked like just a copy of the paper, right? And then we started seeing like, oh, okay, now we can have comments on things and and links, and not just have all the words on one page, and we can add images and interactive things. And I think it's the same with DAOs. Is like at first they seem like a board of directors, right? Just they can control someone else, and there's a multi-sig, they can make decisions and then tell people what to do. But we're now seeing that's we can do more with that, right? Now that we've just taken copies of what already existed, we can sort of evolve, especially with the ability to autonomously do things, and not just say, right, oh, okay, hey, someone off chain do this, but actually cause something to happen, right? So one of my favorite examples in Polkadot, the main developers of Polkadot, the technical fellowship, are paid on chain from staking rewards that are automatically, and this was voted on, but it automatically gets swapped for USDT, for Tether, and the people in the technical fellowship that's how they get their salary. It's all done. They agreed to join this. They agreed, like, here's the salary for the different levels, and it's automatically, as the network goes on and produces staking rewards, a portion gets swapped for USDT, and that pays the developers. So again, like now we're seeing this, like, the machine is continuing of its own accord, right? That it's building staking rewards as long as people are using the network. That pays the developers. They improve the network. It's a circle. Then more people use the network because it's been improved. And so I think this is what we're going to see more of, like ideas we can't even consider, right? Because we're still stuck somewhat in, we have one foot in this old world and one foot in the new. But as time goes on, we're going to see more and more of these interesting approaches, I think.
I agree. I agree. I see the level of I don't think zest is the right word, but zeal or like passion by the Gen Z generation. So as time goes on and a new wave comes up, you'll see it, I believe.
Yeah.
We got to do things the right way though, right? So I want to find out what your definition of blockchain ethics is, and why ethics are crucial if you want crypto to be sustainable.
Yeah, so ethics is always a really hard question, because not only do people disagree on what is ethical and what is not, like even at a very fundamental level, right? You've got whatever, this has been an argument since Plato, right? And like deontological ethics versus utilitarian ethics versus virtue ethics. Um, it's a very complicated question that we're diving into here. But I do think I'm a big believer that, like, without ethics, if we just assumed everybody out there was unethical, we wouldn't really get much done, right? And so I think this is going to be a very weird approach, I think, to ethics. So I apologize. I'm imagining my old undergrad ethics professor, like, sort of yelling at me for this answer. But in some ways, actually, I think one of the things that blockchain helps do is to remove part of the need for ethics, or allow us actually to make ethical decisions by removing some other blockers to that. So just to sort of get into that, I promise I will. This is all foundational. It all makes sense in a moment. I was just reading to my son The Call of the Wild. Right. And there are a lot of ethical decisions that have to be made when you are in the middle of nowhere in Alaska in the 1800s. Right. It's like, all right, steal food someone else. If I'm going to die, or, my child is going to die and I have to steal food from someone else. Like, hopefully this is not this is a horrible ethical dilemma, and you can discuss it, for hours. But, in today's world, at least, in America or Switzerland, I understand in other places it's not like this, this isn't a dilemma we have to approach, right? It's not something that happens to us on a day-to-day basis. All right, so I think similarly, blockchain helps us by removing some of these ethical decisions that we have to make, and thus allow us to be more ethical, simply because that decision never comes up, right? So, like, let's say, all right, I'm walking down the street, I'm hungry, and there's some candy that I noticed that at the store that I noticed no one's looking. It's like I might be tempted, like, all right, I'll grab a gumball or something, but I think no, if I get caught, all right, that's really, really bad. Like, there's like a bit of a restriction on my behavior, and blockchain really adds like a lot of extra restrictions to what you can do, right? It says, I cannot send if I don't have the private key to this account, I cannot send the Bitcoin, right? This question like never comes up, right? And so, while ethics is important, and we have to assume that developers aren't putting in backdoors in all of our code and stuff. There are a lot of other ways, like, in some ways, blockchains have really made ethics easier, because we've moved from, like, don't be evil to can't be evil. I can't do this. I can't just figure out someone's private key. But on the other hand, like, we've made some things, some kinds of scams easier, because blockchain is complicated. And so the most common thing I see on Reddit, someone says, I'm having a problem with X, Y, and Z. And what happens? They get some scammer messaging them saying, like, oh, you have to just go to this website and enter your seed phrase, and that'll resync your wallet, right? So they lie. And then, if people understood blockchain a bit better, I think this problem wouldn't exist. But in some ways, we've caused it by making making it. When I say we, I mean us in the blockchain industry, right? I think a big thing we have to do is teach people this. So, yeah. So sorry. Long story short, I can talk about this for a long time. I think we can't change human nature. I think that that most people generally, like, they try to be ethical, they try to be good people. There are always going to be those who aren't. But I do think there are some benefits of blockchain that we help restrict that. We don't provide these opportunities for scams, for cheating, for unethical behavior, because it's so easy to get caught. I mean, blockchains they're totally public, totally transparent. The code is almost always open source. It's hard to cheat in that way because of this radical transparency, which also is good for ethics, at least if you look at it, maybe not what's in your heart, but what you end up doing, right? Because anything you do is going to be visible, so you're going to be restricted from doing anything that's too bad. But on the other hand, I do think something we have to think about is how to prevent these scams, because they really are both a barrier for new people into the space, and just bad in and of themselves.
I agree. I asked, that's a good answer. I've written 287 books to date, and my first book,
287. Oh my.
My first book was on blockchain ethics, back in March 2018. So I'm always interested to hear people's answers. So thank you. But you are also an author. You've written a textbook and another book.
Yes.
Is very interesting. So can you talk about your books?
Sure. Yeah. So my textbook, it's a friendly introduction to software testing, which is, as the name implies, it's all about software testing. So if you're interested in building quality software and understanding how to test it, um, when I was teaching at undergrad, I couldn't find a good book on the topic, so I wrote one. So, uh, my other book is a novel, as you mentioned, Strength in Numbers. So it's science fiction, a near future thriller that teaches people about blockchain, mostly Bitcoin, along the way. So as you're reading the story, the character is a non-technical person. She's an English literature major at the University of Pittsburgh, since that's where I taught, so I knew I knew the university pretty well. She learns, in order to access some leftover Bitcoin from a previous tenant of her apartment, she gets sucked into an adventure. But as she does, she also learns about, and the reader learns, how Bitcoin works, and sees how it's set about 20 years in the future. So it's also, how has society changed, based on blockchain technology becoming dominant? Because in this future, essentially, traditional money is gone and everything is done on the blockchain.
When newbies used to come to me and ask me, to explain Bitcoin, I used to refer them to the Satoshi white paper.
Uh,
It didn't go so well. They didn't
yeah.
understand. And then I started referring them to an app called Wiser, which walks people through in bite-sized chunks on an app But if people read and understand like a novel better, I'm going to get your book. I'm going to read it, and I'm going to start referring people to the readers to your book so they can understand Bitcoin better.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, that really was the goal for it, right? That two reasons. One is, yeah, I think it's a lot easier to learn, right, as part of a novel as opposed to just reading a textbook or a white paper. And also, I think, so I wrote it in 2017, just really sort of the second or third of the waves of widespread interest in blockchain. And I think, a lot of people were only looking at what was happening in 2017, right? What's happening then. And I do think something we should be aware of is where are we moving towards, with blockchain? What is going to be the future of it? And I really wanted to explore that because that's really what science fiction is all about. When Isaac Asimov was writing about robots, he wasn't talking about what was happening in the 30s and 40s and 50s, but all right, what could happen, right? And let's explore that and think about it and have ideas for it. And so that was really the other reason, is both to teach people, what is blockchain, how does it work, but also what can we do with it and why is it important?
sounds wonderful. Sounds wonderful. Awesome. So I want to thank you very much for your time today coming on the show. I appreciate it. I love talking to you. Cool tattoo. And I
Thanks.
have, yeah, you're welcome. I have one last question. And it's, how can people find out more information about you, about Web3 Foundation, learn more about Polkadot, or attend? You said you're hosting another Web3 Summit, or attend the Web3 Summit this year.
Yeah, so for more information about Polkadot, you can go to polkadot.network or Web3 Foundation. We're web3.foundation. Generally, you can find me on Twitter, or X, as I guess it's called. I'm at Bill Laboon. Or if you just search for Bill Laboon, not many Bill Laboons out there, and so you'll probably find me somewhere. Yeah, so Web3 Summit is happening this August. And if you go to the Web3 Foundation page, you'll find the ability to buy tickets. It'll be held in Berlin this year. It's for the first time it's been around for 5 years. We had a bit of a hiatus when COVID started, but we're now back and hopefully better than ever.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's great.